Welcome back, hedge funders and sure gamblers, to NorthernGamingNetwork.com's Tag Me Videocast. I'm Alex, sitting here with Matt.
Hi.
And we're going to be discussing all that remains in this video.
That's right. We're going to be looking at the Corp side of the pack in this video, from worst to best, according to ratings cultivated from our regional metagame. Before we begin, though...
Right. We're going to need you guys to click the like button below, subscribe, share with your friends, and we're not actually going to continue until you do that.
It's great. I mean, we're not doing anything better.
No. They should be subscribing right about now.
And
sharing with the friends.
Liked.
Tweeted.
Tweeted twice. Retweeted.
Excellent. Now that you've done that, we'll get into the cards.
So the number 12 Corp card in this pack, with a score of 1 out of 7, is Superior Cyberwalls. Alex, how about you tell us about Superior Cyberwalls?
Sounds good. So, our total rating for this card as a meta is 1 out of 7. I've rated it a 3.
I rated it a 2.
Okay, so we're a little bit above average of our local group. Let me tell you about it while we're at it. Superior Cyberwalls is a 3-1 agenda. So 3 advancement tokens, 1 agenda point. Security type agenda. All barrier ice have +1 strength. When you score Superior Cyberwalls, gain 1 credit for each rezzed barrier. Appropriate for Wayland because their barriers tend to be stronger than everyone else's, or they have the most barriers.
They are very barrier heavy.
Yeah, very,
yes.
very, with ice walls.
They're aggressively barrier heavy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think this is anything to jump at or throw into a whole bunch of decks. I think it could be useful if you have a deck that you're advancing a lot of walls. Barriers tend to be the easiest stuff to break, easiest stuff to go through, so I can understand why you might want to add some strength there.
Barriers are certainly the easiest to break. They're also the most plentiful, so that additional, if you ever score this agenda, which it's not too hard to, but it isn't very profitable.
That's right.
It does provide you with a better taxing mechanism for the runner. I think that's why we both rated this card as playable to marginally playable.
That's right. Wayland's not a great tax deck, typically.
Yeah, no.
Good ice wall could stop, a lot of stopping power, generally, and usually scorch decks and the like. But it's not generally a decent tax deck. So this really helps things like, I mean, right now, an ice wall, gains strength right there on a cheap ice. So
that's true, yeah.
Early game and the run.
Early game and the runs.
But
however, an ice wall, unless you're already advancing your ice wall, Corrode are still breaking it for 1.
That's right.
So, our metagame, we got notes on all these cards from people in our metagames.
Yep.
The best comment that I found for this card was, why bother? Gillihan's and Hostile Takeover are both more efficient or cheaper and easier to score. Card number 11 on the Corp side is Lycan with a score of 1.8 out of 7. This is a 6 res cost, 3 strength sentry with the Destroyer and Morph subtypes. Lycan can be advanced. While Lycan has an odd number of advancement tokens on it, it gains Code Gate and loses Sentry, with 1 subroutine, trash 1 program. I personally like this card. I understand that it is mimicable and yoggable when Mimic and Yogg are in play, but I feel as though it's a Code Gate that does something active in Wayland. Generally speaking, in Wayland, your Code Gates will be Enigma or Quandary, sometimes Soul Booth. This one, it's expensive. It's 6 to 7 credits, depending on whether you're okay keeping it as a sentry. But it's an active card. It's aggressive, where a lot of Code Gates aren't right now. So they could be running with barrier, like fractors, and killers, but not decoders, because decoders are harmless. Whereas this, if it's a Code Gate, it'll take out their fractor.
Yep. The only, I guess, with that in mind, the only reason why that would be nice is because you can still advance this while it's face down.
That's right.
So you advance it as Wayland, you might think it's an Ice Wall or Hadrian's. you res it, and bam, trash program.
Test run your corroder, run it like, oh, I got this covered.
Yeah.
And then, oh, it's a code gate, get rid of your corroder.
Yeah, that, I like the way you think about that.
Yeah.
I still don't like this card. Next from the pack, Sagittarius. It is a 5 cost, 4 strength piece of ice. It is a Century Tracer Destroyer. Trace strength 2 is its only subroutine. If successful, trash 1 program. If your trace strength is 5 or greater, trash 1 program. So that gives you the opportunity to trash 2 programs.
Yes.
Lovely flavor text. Sagittarius promised foresight, but brought only regret. I think this is a cool concept. It's like the snake thing and the next thing and the Merlin thing.
The thing I like about this card is it doesn't die to Parasite as easily. Like it Rototurret.
I do like that.
Rototurret dies to Parasite and is much more easy to break. It's expensive because you have to pay to ensure you'll destroy a program. If they don't break it, you might still not break a program unless you pay the 3.
That's true. Shapers is only going to be 1, and Andromeda is only going to be 1 to break that trace if you don't.
That's right, if you don't pump it.
So.
However, if you pump it to 3, yeah, that'll be 8 credits to destroy a program, but there are some programs that it's worth spending 8 credits to break.
And let's face it, you're HB. You've got plenty of money. But
it certainly isn't groundbreaking.
It's not useless.
That's my point, though, is a 3 out of 7, I feel, just demonstrates that it's a card that's playable.
Yeah.
It can go in decks.
Yeah.
It won't go in all of them, and it may not go in many. It's 2 influence, of course, so it's hard to splash.
Matt, why don't you tell us about our next card, number 9 of 12.
Number 9, with a score of 2.8 out of 7, with a score of 2.5 out of 7, is Bifrost Array, which is a Husbioroid 3-1 agenda. It is an initiative agenda. It has the text, when you score Bifrost Array, you may trigger the when scored ability of another agenda that is not a copy of Bifrost Array in your score area.
But what does it do? Whatever I bloody want it to.
Our metagame gave this card a 2.5 out of 7, which is basically saying that it's fringe playable. You may include it in a deck that wants an effect like this that's looking for a 3-1 agenda. Most decks, however, aren't looking for a 3-1 agenda, so you really have to be building around an effect like this.
Yeah. Yep. I gave it a 3. It's, again, a little bit more than just fringe playable. I think it's might be a fun card to play with. Probably not in your top tier want to go win some tournament decks, because it may not be consistent enough. And I think a good point that was made earlier when we were talking about superior cyberwalls was that Gila Hands and I guess what was the other? There's another neutral card that somebody made a good comment on. Chronos Project. Those are other 3-1 agendas that are going to be more powerful in the odd chance that you pull them out. Where this one, you have to have an agenda scored initially to have this work correctly.
With a win scoreability.
This is going to go into that never advance Husbioroid.
Right, sure. So, I mean, the idea of getting a second efficiency committee, though.
That's right.
That's incredible to me. The idea, this could theoretically even go in that.
Yeah, because as
advanced
Husbioroid, you could score this out of hand, and then have 2 efficiency committees, basically, that is quicker to score.
So, Alex, why don't you tell us about card number 8 in this pack?
Oh boy, I can't wait.
Oh boy!
It's a card that I will never play, that I can possibly think of right away. It is Snatch Grab, a 0-cost operation, a gray op. Trace 3, if successful, trash 1 connection. The runner can take 1 tag to prevent this. Does anybody out there play Foxfire or Freelancer? Because that's all I have to say about that card.
It's a super unfair question, however. Freelancer requires the runner to be tagged to be played.
Okay.
Foxfire requires the runner to be tagged and playing virtual resources, which are super rare.
Fair enough.
Snatch and Grab is 0 cost and forces the runner to pay at least 3 if they aren't linked up.
Right.
Or you get rid of their Katie Jones or Mr. Lee. And if they don't want you to get rid of their Katie Jones or Mr. Lee, they take a tag and you burn their face.
I have to say that I do enjoy the kind of theme that they're really putting into this pack too. Because Snatch and Grab, that's really it's like the Corp's hiring up their mercenaries or shady cops. They're paying the shady cops to go like grab all of your connections.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Your people in the underworld that are keeping you safe as a runner or giving you things that you need as a runner.
So far in this pack, I've found that the cards that I'm most interested with are the cards that force the runner to make choices, difficult choices. Snatch and Grab, it's a card that forces them to choose, is it worth it to take that tag on the Corp turn to save my Katie Jones, who is full of clicks of money?
You know what you've got me thinking actually right now is I might try this out. I might give this card a try because you're really giving it a good
Katie Jones
argument.
is ubiquitous.
And not just for that, I think that this might go into a Jinteki deck and replace Neural EMP.
Okay.
I might swap this out in a Jinteki just as like a little surprise. That actually could be fun. I might try that out. I'm going to test that.
Okay.
Just because you've convinced me that this card is better than a 1.
I win the video.
So, I'm still right, but I will try it. Matt, why don't you talk about our next card, 7 out of 12.
Card 7 out of 12 is Merlin. It's a 6 cost, 4 strength, code gate, Grail, AP, ice. When the runner encounters Merlin, you may reveal up to 2 Grail ice from HQ. For the remainder of the run, Merlin gains the subroutines of the revealed ice in the order of your choice, with 1 subroutine due to net damage.
I think this card really kind of falls flat at the cost.
Sure, okay, that's fair. 6 is so much.
Yep. For a code gate, strength 4. If it or if it was the same cost as a strength 5 code gate.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of strength 4 code gates right now, and
Sure.
they fall really flat to Atman.
Yes.
Which is a big
Strength
thing.
4 is like a no man's land right now.
Yeah, like that, you're not going to include that ice because it just Atman walks right through it. Like
I think this card isn't necessarily a Grail Ice that you install or res. I think that this is the Grail Ice you hold. 6 is a lot,
yes, it is.
but the other Grail Ice is all cheaper. They're 3 and 4 respectively, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
If you can hold a Merlin or 2, and when your opponent encounters the Lancelot that you already have res, and you can just throw 4 net damage on top of that end of the run, then the runner is at this huge crossroads. They don't know now if they can keep running anything ever, because every ice they run into could just kill them out of nowhere.
Now it gains the subroutines of the revealed ice in the order of your choice, but it still has that subroutine first.
Oh,
so if
that's
you have a
true,
Lancelot
I
that
suppose.
is end the run first, and then you have 2
That's
net
true,
damage,
okay.
they have to break that.
They would end the run first. Okay,
Yeah.
so they would just bounce off.
That's right. So if you had a Merlin on the table,
Okay, this card's
and
not
then
as good.
2 more
You're
Merlins,
right. Okay.
that would be
Then it would be
sense.
6. Okay, you're right.
Right.
Okay, then this card's a 3.
So if someone wants to find a rule saying that I can throw them before these subroutines,
That'd be so much better.
then this would actually be a pretty great card. Until then, we'll have to wait for the FAQ.
Alex, why don't you tell us about the next card?
Certainly. Next card on the list are 6 out of 12, Hostile Infrastructure. It is a Jinteki asset. Cost 5 to res. No subtype of the asset. Whenever the runner trashes a Corp card, including Hostile Infrastructure, do 1 net damage. It is 5 to trash.
Oh, so much to trash.
And it's got a nice little temple tower that it looks very
spiky.
hostile in its
Yes.
spiky nature.
It is a very hostile structure indeed.
So expensive to res, expensive to trash. It's one of those, if you're looking to defend against trashing, if it's kind of, maybe you're going to be running a lot of assets as a Jinteki player, it's a two influence, so you could splash this into something else, like NEH if you wanted to, for avoiding trashing your assets, because there's a lot of asset
I
econ.
suppose. I find this card is like super fringe playable.
Yep.
This card is Jinteki Sansan City Grid. However, Jinteki doesn't have the money that NBN has. And
Sorry.
this card doesn't play as nicely with the other corporations as Sansan does.
That's right.
You need to want to do multiple net damage over the course of multiple turns. And you need to want to spend $5 to res an asset that doesn't do anything on its own.
That's right.
San, it buys you a click and a credit every time you use it. This does a net damage, which if you are playing PE or RP or Tenon even, that can be very useful. Those decks can use the net damage. They could use this high taxing asset as well. But those decks also can't often afford to spend 5 credits in order to res an asset that isn't going to accomplish anything on its own.
So that's hostile infrastructure. Matt, why don't you tell us about the other Jinteki card in this pack? Number 5 out of our 12.
It seems like I'm getting all of the ice here. That seems pretty unfair. Number 5 is
cold.
Cold as ice. I'm willing to sacrifice. Gemini is a 3-res, 5-strength sentry. Those are numbers I like. With Tracer and AP. This is the card that Lycan wishes it were.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I really like this card.
Is that a... No, okay, it's a 2. Trace 2. If successful, do 1 net damage. If your trace strength is 5 or greater, do 1 net damage. I read that as a 3, and I was like, this card is broken. Flip a table.
Gemini promised pleasure, but dealt only pain.
You're the Jinteki guy in our group, really. Like, my home base was always Jinteki growing up as a child, but you've really embraced the red cards.
Yeah.
What do you think about Gemini?
I think this is a great card. It's inexpensive, high-strength ice for Jinteki. Sentry, which is Jinteki's bread and butter. Traces aren't really Jinteki's strong point, but I think that if this wasn't a trace, it would be pretty broken. It's basically a good threshold to get into the ice, get it open, and it's going to make the runner make some choices, like we talked about earlier.
That's the key, right?
And
the real question here is whether or not Gemini is better or worse than Mamba from the previous pack.
That's a question?
I think it is a question.
I would say that's a different bag of worms.
I think that it's almost the same card. But this one's cheaper and does less net damage over the course of the game.
Side game versus trace. What would you rather do? What would you guys at home rather do? Comment down below. Side game or a trace? So this is cheaper ice to res.
Yes.
Actually a higher strength.
Yes.
Because Mamba's only a 4.
It's a 6/4.
So
this is half the cost to
half
res.
the cost, slightly more strength.
Fewer subroutines.
Is fewer subroutines. That's a tough choice.
It is.
Like
if you could only run 1
I think
net damage sentry of that vein.
I think I would include Gemini. It depends on how much you're playing. Like there's definitely the House of Knives trick with the Mamba that could work, but because of that expensive threshold to get it rest, that's there.
Right. I would agree with you.
But again, this is not going to be a Jinteki card you throw in a Jinteki deck that you carry less than 5 credits at any given moment.
No, that's true.
Right? So
this goes in still a quote-unquote rich Jinteki deck.
Alright, so that was Gemini.
So how about you tell us about card number 4 in this pack?
Card number 4, we're getting up there. Card number 4 is an NBN agenda, license acquisition. It is a 3/1 agenda. This agenda is an expansion. When you score license acquisition, install and res an asset or upgrades from archives or HQ, ignoring all costs. That's install and res. And res. Let me say it again. And res from archives or HQ, ignoring all the costs.
Asset or upgrade. This card says, put that sand they just trashed back into play face up.
And res, yeah, face up. Can I just say that why does NBN get all the cool shit?
Awesome.
This makes this is just one more agenda that you have to kind of think about how you're building your deck, and gives NBN another tool to do something fun.
My argument for this card is that it doesn't really belong in the NBN decks we have right now, but it could be heralding a move forward for the corporation. I think that there may be a time where you want to play a never advance NBN. Just play some agendas on the field, like put some ice in front of them, and then either the runner runs them and doesn't get much out of them, or they don't run them and you get to score license acquisition and get a free Sand City grid.
Yeah, that's a cool card.
I think that while, no, it's not going to be ubiquitous, I think that there will come a time where there's a paradigm shift in NBN. And you can't just play the NBN decks that are always winning all the tournaments all the time. And you have to find something new. And the something new will be license acquisition. And it will be in all, this will be in all of those slightly worse NBN decks.
So that's license acquisition. Next on our list is Executive Bootcamp. Matt, why don't you tell us about that?
Executive Bootcamp is the third best Corp card in this pack, according to our metagame. This is a zero-cost, 3-to-trash asset for the Wayland Corporation. When your turn begins, you may res a card, lowering the res cost by 1 credit. For the cost of a credit and trash, search R&D for an asset, reveal it, and add it to HQ. Shuffle R&D. This card is just incredibly interesting. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like Drip Economy, kind of, but it's also really, really good at finding that one snare you're running when the runner plays legwork on your 2-card HQ.
I would also like to point out that it helps Blue Sun.
That's the real thing that you gain from this, is the ability to res extra ice or extra anything, because you can res any card.
Oh yeah, as a card,
less.
that's right. You res any card. We also think here, with this whole when your turn begins, lowering the cost by 1 in Blue Sun, if you want to move that ice somewhere, you immediately get a credit bump.
Yes, that's true.
To install that ice somewhere else.
Yes, that's right.
So
it's kind of like Drip Economy, like I was saying before. It's really inefficient Drip Economy because it forces you to spend money.
You got to spend money to make money.
Oh, Wayland.
Wayland.
We're the good guys. I think the real interesting part of this is that you can spend a credit and trash this card at instant speed to search R&D for an asset, reveal it, and add it to HQ.
Yeah, I do like that.
This lets you get your the top card in this pack. Or it lets you get your Jackson Howard. It lets you find a snare. It lets you find silver bullets, if you have them, that will serve you over the course of a longer game. It doesn't cost a click. Most tutor effects in this game cost a click. So we're in the top 2. These are arguably the best cards in the pack. And the order of them could really be interchangeable, in my opinion. How about you give us card number 2, Alex?
Card number 2 in our top 12 is Shell Corporation. Now, in my opinion, and in Matt's opinion, this is actually our favorite card of the pack.
Yeah.
Now, in our meta, this is only number 2. Shell Corporation is a cost 2 upgrade. I'll get back to that later. 3 to trash. You cannot use Shell Corporation more than once per turn. For a click, place 3 credits on Shell Corporation. For a click, take all credits from Shell Corporation. So, obvious, right away, it sounds like Katie Jones, but Corp side. But here's the great part, it's an upgrade, not an asset. So this can be installed on HQ, R&D, archives. You can install it onto a remote server with something to do with like a trap of any sort.
It's a trap!
So this is why I love this card. This is almost a 7, but it doesn't break the game.
That's right. And
So,
I don't think it'll be ubiquitous.
I've already been playing with this card a little bit, and it has worked, I would say, 60 to 70% of the time.
In our metagame, like I said earlier, we got some notes from our players about what they think about this card. And the best comment that I got about this card was that it's really good economy for the corporation, but the best thing it does is it makes the runner want to run the server. Because they want to just, oh, I'll spend 3 and trash it, and you'll lose all those clicks worth of things you did. But then you have to build around it a little bit to make them say, oh, but if I run it and trash it, am I just going to die? And the answer should always be yes.
But what would be even more hilarious, and hashtag mind games, is that you install this onto an agenda and then score it like...
That's right.
Have it like 4 advanced, 5-3 agenda, and then...
Labyrinthine servers.
Labyrinthine servers, and then score it.
And then score it, and then immediately install a trap underneath.
Yes.
So that they run it, and then you labyrinthine so they can't jack out, and then kill them with the snare.
All right, that's Shell Corporation. Matt, tell us about your new daily business show.
Daily Business Show is a 2-cost, 4-to-trash asset cast. It has the text, the first time you draw a card each turn, which, spoiler alert, is your mandatory draw. Draw an additional card. Add one of the drawn cards to the bottom of R&D. What is the number one problem with NEH right now? Except for the fact that it doesn't have any problems. The
yeah,
number
I was
one
gonna
problem,
say, other than the problem that where it's broken.
other than the problem where it's too good, it tends to cultivate a large mittful of agenda cards. This solves that problem. You don't ever have to draw another agenda again. You can just fast track for all the agendas, and then when you're finally at 6, just Daily Business Show into your breaking news. This puts your agendas on the bottom of your deck, save them from Maker's Eye, and it puts them somewhere other than your hand to save them from legwork. And it means you don't have to trash them to save them from archives around, so you don't have to waste your Jackson Howards so often. Mm-hmm. This is the one piece, I feel, that was missing from NEH taking over the entire world.
You know what's fantastic about this is that it's also splashable. It is only 1 influence.
Oh, yeah.
It's 4 to trash. So as a runner, you really want to trash this, but it is so pricey.
Much. Yeah.
But yeah, watch the Daily Business Show. A new investment deal every morning. Grab the bull by the horns and take control of your future.
So, Alex, what did you think about the Corp side of this pack as a whole?
I loved it.
Yeah, but you love all the cards. And let's face it, you're not very good at being critical. Remember Angel Arena?
Oh yeah, Angel Arena. The horror.
But in reality, I kind of have to agree with you. This pack had some excellent top-tier cards. And the middle of the pack was far superior to Up and Over, in my opinion.
Yeah, I believe that a lot of the cards really kind of round out Corp side, giving you a lot of things where you can make the runner big choices, kind of squares off some things that are lacking in some Corp's shell games in Wayland and Osboroid, and improves on the economy in Jinteki.
Oh, Alex, always with the joking.
Anyways, next time we'll be running down of the pack, and spoiler alert, I love all those too.
Yeah, I bet he really loves the dog deck.
Wink. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends, favorite if you really like it.
And definitely be sure to visit northerngamingnetwork.com to subscribe to the Tag Me podcast, where you can hear all about our metagame, how we came to the scores that we got to, and really learn a little bit more about the players in our area.
Until next time, stay frosty.
So, Alex.
Hello.
What did you think about the Corp side of this pack as a whole?
I loved it.
So close, yet so far.
We're not actually going to continue until you do that. Pause for 10 seconds. For like corporations to have viruses to go back into
You would think so. I would
to like
think
the
so,
runner's
yes.
rig.
Oh,
like,
you know what would be great is if you could
because
have
of the Microsoft website.
no, if
your
you could
Windows
play a
7
card
is
and
fucked.
put it in the runner's deck, and then when they draw it, they have to reveal it, and it.
But then you
doesn't-
couldn't play card sleeves.
You have to. Oh yeah, that's true.
You'd all have to have the same card sleeves. That's the only reason why. That
You
would
should
not
just
work.
have to play black sleeves.
Everybody must play black sleeves.
Or no, you play a different color sleeves, and then you know when the
Oh,
card,
so you can
know when
see
they draw.
the card coming.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
Oh no, I have 2 turns. Oh no, I have to find a way
no.
to shuffle this back to the bottom.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like, oh no, you just.
And then,
then
I'm gonna cut it back to the top.
And then the Corp cuts into the top. Oh man, that actually would be pretty
It'd be
fun.
kind of neat. It'd be very like kind of Jinteki-ish.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
Like here,
Yeah.
I'll feed you a card. Yeah.
You have to play this one. This card is now in your rig. Here's your new icebreaker.
And then it's like when you draw this card, like you could never spend a click to draw a card again.
There's no such thing as bad publicity. Any publicity is good publicity.
Okay, Kim Kardashian.